5 Minute Fridays, and we are on the clock. All right, recently I had a player development webinar, and someone asked, hey, I'm looking at this position. When I look at positions, what happens as far as player development when I'm looking at the jobs and responsibilities? If there's something I don't know, what do I do? Now, I do an interview workshop. I'll keep some information in the show notes for you. But in the workshop, what I tell people, and here's a nugget from the workshop. Hey, y'all, I'm about to give y'all a game. When you look at a job posting about player development, any role in sports, but specifically player development, as this is the player development pod, you want to circle what you've done in before. So if you've done something, you want to circle it. Oh, I've done this. I've done that. I've done this. I know that. And then you want to highlight what you have not done. So you want to look at this and say, okay, I have done this. I have not done this. Now, there's two things you can do. If you are in a state where let's say you're in a young professional, you're in a entry level job, and you know that director position is a couple of years down the line, you can look at that director position that you looked at, that you printed out. You could circle it, and you could highlight. When you highlight those things that you haven't done, you can say, hey, you know what? In the time as I prepare over the next 2 years, maybe you're a GA, or the next year, next 3 years, whatever it may be, and please take advantage of the time to prepare. Please take advantage of that. You may say, hey, let me do this. All right. So for instance, if it says one thing would be intersectionality on campus, or working with different departments. Okay. In the next year, I want to have a responsibility where I'm working with a different department. Maybe it's academics. Maybe it's community relations on campus. Maybe it's housing. But whatever's underlined, you want to start building that so you can circle that within a year. So now when you go to apply for that position and you think it's time, or your supervisor, your champion, whoever says, hey, I believe you can do it, you would have those skills. Now, that's for those who are like, hey, I'm going to look ahead. I'm going to prepare for the future. Now, if you're there and you're like, I've done it, your supervisor's telling you, hey, here's your next step, get there. So now what you do with the circle and the highlight, now you're going to reach out to someone there, maybe send a call. This is underrated. People forget to call. I will call HR departments at a university, and they actually answer questions or whoever posted, you find a way to get to them. They will pick up the phone and they will talk more than you think they will. I'm not going to say every time, but more than you think they will. So anyway, I'm going to look at it and I'm going to call and see, hey, what is it that you're asking for that I may not know? So for instance, when I was in player development, I had a budget. I never was able to control my budget. I never was able to see the line. I never got to see how much money was in my budget. I was never able to literally use my budget. It sucks. It was part of it. Everywhere I was at, I never got a chance to control my budget. So let's say this position has something about the budget. I'm going to reach out to somebody I know. Hey, can you connect me with this person? Hey, I'm interested in the job. I just want to make sure when I'm looking at this budget, are you saying that I will be in full control of the budget, that I will have to give a budget number at the beginning of the year, talk to the operations person, the chief of staff, and say, hey, this is how much I believe we need for programming? Or are you saying that there's a set budget that I will work with in there? Then even if it's either one of those two, will I have control of the budget, or am I working through someone? And if I don't use it, will it roll over? So now I've communicated with that person who has either through email, phone, they're going to answer some questions. So now I'm better prepared for the interview. The other thing with that is they're going to remember the conversation they had with you. Like, man, that Ed Jones guy, he called about the budget. And then they're going to ask somebody else who has the question. So maybe you reached out to a person, they got to talk to HR or a athletic administrator, whoever. And they're going to say, man, he asked that question. Like, hey, put his name, send me his resume. I want to see why this guy's asking. So now you have placed yourself in those situations. Or if I did that, I'm using me as an example. I have placed myself in an area where they are saying, hey, this guy knows about the job, he's asking questions. So now it's not just, hey, I'm going to answer their question and keep it moving. It's, well, let me check out their resume. Okay, so that's what you want to do. Like I said, this was a question that was in the webinar from yesterday. I have an interview workshop. That information is in the show notes. It has helped many people get into a role. I'm thankful for that. Just taking what I've learned over my life. But that is a key for you. If you're looking at a position, do that. If you're in the role, if you want to be in the role, if you're a student at GA, print every time they put director or player development, whatever, print it, circle and highlight. Just keep a stack of them, keep a file of them. I keep it to this day. I keep job responsibilities in a Google form, just to do something. And maybe one day I'll do a podcast on what I think are the best roles and responsibilities for someone in a player development role. Hey, thank you so much for being here. 5 Minute Friday. Before we go, the Player Development Summit will be in Kansas City, May 29th through the 31st, 2025. Information is in the show notes. I want to see you there at the Player Development Summit. It will be in person. You do not want to miss it. Have a great day. Oh, and I can't forget this. Go out and create generational impact. Don't wait. Create that generational impact today.